Hey all, Grolo here. Hope your weekend's off to a great start. My whole schedule's been kind of pushed back this week. What I'd like to aim for each week is Mondays look at the week prior, and then something a little deeper on Thursday or Friday. I'd like to pin that down further, but I can't quite do that yet. We'll continue to work on it. On top of that, I still plan on doing timely reactions or coverage of like big events in the community or by CIG or in tech in general, so that kind of stuff can disrupt the schedule anyway. All it is to say, I'm aiming for some consistency, but I want to remain light on my feet too. So today I wanted to do something on the lighter side. I haven't had the time to think about a super meaty technical topic or anything because, well, they hooked these wires up to my head yesterday, as you can see, um, because they need help training Grok 4. I said, fine, I'll supply some brain power, I guess. Nah, seriously, I don't know. I got some weird shit going on, and they're just trying to get to the bottom of it. So it's no biggie. I just didn't want someone seeing a wire or something and jumping to the conclusion that I was AI or something. All right, I'm real. Um, so back to the lighter side. I thought we'd do a Q&A recap. I get a lot of questions in the comments, which I love. Keep them coming. But I figured, people probably don't go back and read the responses to other people's comments and questions. Even though I leave a lot of them, I try to be timely about engaging with y'all. But I thought some of it might be interesting to other folks, even if they didn't go back and see it because they don't get the alerts for other people, right? So let's try this Q&A recap format. Hopefully it's a stroke of genius, but it could suck. You've been warned. So let's jump in. So here's a comment/question from Krugmaster just a couple hours ago. He left it on the weekly look back that I did about the death of gaming and collapse of software engineering. But it was about I think the context and what this question is about the video I did on can AI help accelerate game development. I did a video on that. And he says, Grolo, after the drop of Grok 3, I'd love to hear your retake on AI helping to program. Like punch in the face for me. Having said last time that 1.0 was capable of outputting around 600 lines of useful directed code, yeah, that limit just got lifted. Haven't found the new limit yet, but damn, this AI is adding multiplayer to my min PY game. So yeah, he goes on with some more there. You can read it, but yeah, Krogmaster, I can't wait to dig in. I have not dug into Grok 3 yet, but just based on your comment, I'd known they had dropped it. I just haven't had a chance to really sink my teeth into it yet. But after seeing your comment, I went out. I dropped a link to it on my taskbar here. So next time I go to reach for ChatGPT, it's right beside it. So I'm gonna hit that XAI button instead and go take Grok 3 for a spin and see how it compares. So I will get back to you on this, whether it's a comment or a short video or whatever. We'll definitely discuss it. And I would love to hear from anybody else watching, like, what's your take on Grok 3? Have you compared it to, Copilot or ChatGPT, some of its newer models? What's your take? How do you think it stacks up? I'd love to hear about it. So drop a comment. Okay, next one. Cosmic D responded to one of the shorts that I put out recently. Remember, I just started doing the shorts thing. I'm kind of doing those as like recaps and just small bite-sized chunks from my longer form content. And how that goes. So far, it's gone pretty well. So again, we're getting some engagement on these. So Cosmic D says, in regards to the one I just put out recently where I said just barely enough features have been put into the game to warrant the shift to playability, he said I had exactly the same concerns. There's some features like the Vulkan and rendering updates that are still on the horizon, multi-threading, frame budgeting, memory management, new social app, org implementation, live support, new flight model, quality of life improvement, helmet wearing, equipping, oxygen drain replenish, that I wonder are still on the horizon for this year now that they made the switch. So I asked this question several places now on Spectrum and YouTube videos. Which of these features, including dynamic server meshing, can we expect within the next within their new focus? Sorry, when they cause infrastructure to stabilize again, and should these features have been implemented before shifting the focus to quality of life? I'm very interested in seeing the next roadmap update so we can see what we can expect this year. I couldn't agree more. I think this coming roadmap update is going to be one of the more important ones that we've seen probably since I've joined this project. Like what, because they've told us, okay, they're shifting gears, they're focusing on playability, quality of life, stability, performance, and that's going to come at a cost, as we knew it would, of new features dropping and etc. So what they but they did say that some features are going to continue on the back burner. They're just going to bake much slower and larger amounts of time before they drop them on us. So it's going to be very interesting to see which of those features you've listed out make that list. Now, if you go back to my predictions for 2025, I took this into account whenever I made that video. This kind of switched to playability. So that's my predictions. I've already got my predictions out there. I said we're going to circle back at the end of 2025 and the end of 2026 and see, you know, how close I got to the mark. But the predictions I listed in those videos, we're taking this into account. So that's what I think they're going to be keeping. I think a lot of the things on your list, sadly, aren't going to make the cut. Not this year, at least. Probably not next. But we'll see. We'll definitely be covering the roadmap update on this channel as soon as it's available to us. And we will chat more about this then. Great comments. Great question. Thank Cosmic. I don't like your on-off mic, I'm afraid to say, as it's annoying. Is this some kind of sound canceling? Yeah, good question. Thanks. And I'm sorry to annoy people with it. I mean, you know, my job, I do a lot of stuff for a lot of people. I have a lot of equipment in this room, and it makes a crap ton of noise. I got fans blaring and everything else. And so whenever I started this this YouTube channel thing, I just went out and got some kind of noise canceling software to help me drown all that out, so we all didn't have to listen to it. But obviously, it has come with its own side effects and drawbacks, and I'm not liking it either when I listen to the videos back. I've just been struggling to improve it, but I am in the process of rearranging this office, moving this equipment out of this office into a neighboring area so that I can get rid of all that background noise and hopefully deliver a much better audio experience for this channel. I'm enjoying this enough that it's worth it to me. Plus, all that equipment makes it hard to temperature control this room anyway, so it's like a one for me. I'm actually really looking forward to for getting this done. If you could see the rest of my office, which you can't see right now, but it's a mess. We've been gutting it and moving things around, so really looking forward to that. Thanks for the comment. Hope the audio is better soon, man. I'm looking into shifting careers, and my love of the gaming industry was making me lean towards software development. Is this a bad idea then? I'm older and would say would already be at a disadvantage because of my age and lack of experience. Now I'm not sure what to do. And this was another question that was dropped on the video I did recently, which was the Monday recap on looking at the death of gaming and software engineering collapse, putting those in quotes, because obviously they're not exactly that, as we kind of dug into. And I responded to the Yogi comment too. Thanks, Yogi915, for the question. Like I said in the comment, it is never a bad idea to follow passion. So if this is something you're truly passionate about and you would enjoy having these skills, whether you worked in the field with them or not, then go for it. You know, some other people who dropped comments on that video as well rightly pointed out that, like, we may be in a slump right now, but there's nothing stopping a rebound in the future. I do think that we are kind of hitting a critical mass where, like, we probably will see smaller and smaller bounces as time goes on. Someone pointed out on, I think it was a short or something, where, as we kind of reach this equilibrium, we'll probably start to see an oscillation as we kind of hone in on like the right size for the market. Now, further disruption, like major changes, shifts, seismic things. I mean, they could, like, disruption is what caused the software boom and bust cycle to begin with, and it could do that again. Like, this might not be the last time we're seeing it. So again, there could be a lot more opportunity in the future, Yogi. But that's my advice. If it's something you're passionate about, you really love it, do it. If you're just doing it for the money, stay out of it. Not worth it. But I would give you that advice no matter what the state of the market was. So Lord of Flies writes, and this was on the video that I did that was a deep dive on the marathon SCL reaction. I did a video on the dual write theory as one thing that could be causing some of the inventory issues we were seeing on the PU. And I want to do a lot more of those videos, by the way. More of those soon for sure. But anyway, Lord of Flies asked a comment or the question on that video. He says, so let's say I was writing a chat application where I have the messages stored in a database, but also in memory, if a user has the chat open. This would essentially be the same problem as I have two sources of truth, right? To solve this, you would insert the messages to the database, and if no exceptions were thrown, you would also add it to the chat object that is in memory. Good question, Lord of Flies. So there is a difference if your cache is local to the process that is making the change to the database, right? If you are talking about a single process where you are updating the database, and then if you see that write or change was successful, you update your local memory, that is not considered affected by the dual write issue that I described. If you were writing to the database and then if you received a good response, you then turned around and updated a remote cache, like a Redis cache or some other kind of cache, that would be a dual writes, because you have two IO paths. Either one of those can fail, and you can never guarantee successfully do both, right? At any point, any one of them can fail, and you have a mess on your hands because now you have inconsistent state. But in your case, if you're saying I'm updating a remote database, and then if successful, I'm updating my local memory cache, that would not be affected. What you described would work. We're going to assume, rightfully, that your local memory writes are not going to fail unless you have like memory exhaustion or something like that. But in that case, your application's going to fall down anyway. So the way you described it, perfect. No problems. All right. Good question. Thanks again. Next one. So we had put up a poll a while back where I asked if every operating system ran all games perfectly, I would run. And I let people vote on the operating system they would choose. This was at the same time I had put out one of those weekly recaps where we highlighted a video where they were talking about SteamOS possibly becoming a viable desktop alternative against Windows, with a lot of advancements being made. I was pretty excited about that video. But one of the things they did highlight was with anti-cheat. That's one place where things are still falling down. But I thought it would be interesting to put this poll out. If the anti-cheat problem was solved, we would basically be at a point where a Linux machine like SteamOS or another distro could really serve as a gaming machine, and Windows would no longer have a lock on this. And so, yeah, the results were interesting. A little over half the respondents said they would be running Linux, and then second place with Windows, followed by Mac, and then something else. I forget what the something else were. Maybe SteamOS, actually. But yeah, so as a follow-up, in that poll, BC-VV30T asked, I'm a lazy Windows user, but SteamOS seems better for my use cases. Do they have a release year set? I don't know. I think it's all conjecture at this point, BC. I don't think Steam has actually come out and said, hey, we're going to be releasing this one to the PC platform at an X date. It's still really just targeted for their own devices and handhelds, as far as I know. But no, I don't think there's any kind of date on this yet. Will there be? Well, no, it's just conjecture at this point, but it is interesting to think about. Also, if you're a lazy Windows user, definitely wait for anti-cheat and that stuff to be figured out. Don't just hop on it quite yet. It's still, as far as I know, not the smoothest experience. You can read the comments on the video that spawned this poll and hear from some of the other people that are trying Linux as their primary gaming platform. You know, they're being very honest in the comments about the kind of problems they're running into. So if you want that perfectly problem-free experience, not quite there yet. This one was a question by AI PK4CV on the video I did asking, can AI deliver games like Star Citizen and Ashes of Creation faster? He said, why not AIs driving NPCs? They can do pathfinding, planning, voice, etc. Surely they must simplify game development. The suggestion here was like, could we use the models like we're seeing evolve today, and applications like ChatGPT and Grok and Copilot, could we use models like that to power NPCs in games? And I responded to them. You can't see the response here, but my first response to him was, well, probably going to be cost prohibitive, at least for now. And then he wrote back saying, agree, but why not a local model fine-tuned with, you know, the game's lore, you know, and then he pointed out that GPT 3.5 grade conversations are now so cheap not to meter. We can't be that far off. And you might be right. Maybe we aren't that far off from this being a cost-effective solution. My initial thoughts are that like the training cost is where like not actually using the model, but the cost of training the model is the cost that would concern me, because we all know that, you know, things like ChatGPT historically have lagged behind current information. I don't know that it would be all that compelling or interesting to see AI in the game powered by a very out of date model, not like aware of current events in the game, like, you know, some organization or some NPC events happening. Like, at least I would like to see the NPCs aware of what's going on around them and in the universe. And if the model was powering that, we might run into some problems there, which might require aggressive training. I don't know. I'm not an AI expert, but that would be the thing that's popping into my head as possible problems. So, good question. If anybody knows better than me on the viability or possibility of that, I would love to hear about it in the comments. This was on the Star Citizen Live Marathon React. Zarla say, okay, not exactly related to this video, other than you mentioning it, but you hate Jira? Would you rather do Waterfall? What's your issue with it? And do you prefer using, what do you prefer using for that kind of project management? Do you just mean using Jira as a tool rather than having issues with Agile process? Yeah, my comment was mostly Jira as a tool. I just think there's better tools. I have no problem with Agile. I think all processes, Waterfall, Agile, Kanban, whatever you want to use, I think they're all kind of equally viable. I've seen, you know, a lot of people hate on Waterfall, but I've seen projects use Waterfall and do very well. I've seen projects use Agile and do very well. I've seen projects use one or the other and be horrible, disastrous. So I think the, you know, which methodology and which tools are best is just completely dependent upon the people, the team, the org, the culture. I think it just differs. But me personally, Jira feels like a sluggish piece of shit to use. Sorry. Like I don't know. Like anytime I use it, it just like I click and it's like 3 seconds until the screen updates, and that's the only reason I say I'm not a big fan of Jira. I've used other Kanban and board tools that are just much snappier, much faster, and I'm all about speed. Give me something just snappy. That's what I want. I don't want to sit there and wait for 10,000 workflows to run in the background. And I really, you know, probably Jira like out of the box might be a much better experience. Maybe it's the companies I've worked at that just muck it up with all this custom corporate business logic running in the background. Whatever it is, I don't like it. But good question. Thanks, man. Moving on. We the People 89. Good to see you, man. Asked this question on one of my, you know, look back videos where I was talking about the gaming industry losing its collective mind, although I don't think it was really related to that video. We the People says, My one comment would be, any chance of live streams? Love the videos and hope to see you around a long time. Yeah, I hope to be here a long time. I'm having a lot of fun with this. And it's thanks to all of you leaving all these great comments. You're the reason I'm having so much fun. So thank you. I owe you all everything. Chance of live streaming? Maybe. I'm not saying no. I don't know if I'd be good at it, but I guess there's only one way of finding out, right? So I'll probably try it eventually. You know, I'm still working a full-time job, so I have a lot on my plate. Just getting these couple videos out a week, like I'm doing, is kind of pushing the limits at the moment. But I do see my availability changing in the not too distant future, so I might have a lot more time for things like this. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to trying it if I do get the chance. That's all I got for now. Thanks for the question, with people. See you again soon. On the video I did with the first look at the Misk Fortune, Mike ZR1000 says, what's the point of an internal emergency light in a one-person ship? I don't know. Good question. I guess maybe the AI alerting the pilot of problems. That would be the only way I could really justify or explain it. I could see that, like the AI or whatever, like your ship computer detects a problem in the back, they start, or ship damage or something, they start blaring those lights. Who knows? Maybe the pilot has headphones on there. You know, he's up front manning his mining laser. He's just kind of jamming and scraping, and you know he gets hit with a missile in the back. He doesn't know. I don't know. Ship computer's like, hey man, we got hit with a missile. Maybe important. On my reaction to the Asmongold interview of Stephen Sheriff. This was around the I think the narc drama or whatever. Christopher Suze A 8104 says, okay, but who asked? Your face. So there's a question related to this, so I just wanted to give the context on this one. We ran a poll. Pick the one you want most for 2025. The thing you want most isn't listed here. Drop a comment and tell us what it is. Or drop a comment and tell us why you picked what you did. Anyway, pretty even spread here between base building, crafting, perfect flight model, or at least a finished flight model, or the new planet tech. Obviously, crafting and base building coming out slightly ahead. But if you put these two together, as they kind of deserve to be, they kind of blew everything else out of the water with more half respondents pulling for them. And then, yeah, finally the flight model and the planet tech. But one of the questions in that thread was, or on that poll, was why can't we get all four in 2025? It's been 12 years. They should by now know what they want to do with the flight model. Base building is being worked on now, and we already see some of it starting to be in the game, such as crafting. Planet tech, you mean weather? The dynamic clouds are already in Pyro. They just need to combine rain and wind effects, which I'm told is already done. Not in the game yet, but even still, they should be able to get that into the game in a year. Org tools, long overdue. Also, should be able to implement this year. I'm not going to participate in these surveys that imply CIG can only do one thing at a time or give them the grace or a way out. That's why we're 12 plus years in, and the game's development moves at a snail's pace. Apparently, CIG has this impression that they aren't beholden to the community and treat us like donkey following a carrot. Maybe. I don't know, man. Just out here giving my opinions. But yeah, I've made a lot of videos on this channel that dig in pretty deep on a lot of the points that you're bringing up. I don't know that I could really answer all of this right here, but I encourage you, go watch some of my videos. Hopefully you like them. Especially the one, why are games like Star Citizen and Ashes taking forever? Go watch that one. I answer a lot of that, what you're talking about in that one. On the proximity video, you mentioned in an earlier video that you like to write by hand. Have you considered Remarkable? I've looked at it. It looks cool. I was a little turned off by the just kind of the subscription. I don't know. I couldn't really connect the value of the sub to what they were providing. And also, the even bigger turn off, the ease of transferring the content. Just like, correct me if I'm wrong. If there's any Remarkable users in the audience, I'd love to hear your take. But like, it just seemed to me like I use a lot of different platforms. I work on Mac, on Windows, even got some Chrome OS running around. And like whatever device I am taking my notes on, I want to be using like a thing that makes it easy to view my notes and all that stuff on every single platform. I don't want any messing around. And Remarkable just seemed like there was some steps involved to like get your stuff here and there, and I don't want any of that. I want it everywhere. So that was the biggest reason I didn't look further. But just seeing what Remarkable does, like I love the UI. It all, like, at least on their demo videos, it looks really sweet. It got me looking at some of the other more open, like e-ink style, color e-ink style note-taking devices out there. There's pretty cool stuff out there based on Android. All of it, none of it seems quite polished to the level that I would pull the trigger on buying any of it. But if anybody has different thoughts, I'd love to hear about it, because I love gadgets. I love toys. Let me know. Also in the proximity video, will they ever fix elevators so occupants can't push each other out of them? I don't know. Hope so. This happens to us pretty much anytime we get together as a large organ to do any kind of an op. So I will rejoice alongside you whenever it happens. Also in the proximity video, is it possible that some of the aggregate data or any less crucial state updates could be streamed out to a non-centralized device as a single stream and utilize that non-centralized device's network bandwidth to distribute to the clients? It would be additional latency, I know. Might work okay for dynamic fidelity scenario where still allowing the player to remain immersed. I guess kind of like having another smaller replication layer based off the current shard, but used to update clients with some game state data to offload some of that network load. Yeah, this was by JD FPV. Good question, JD. Thanks for posting. I can kind of see where you're going with this, but I think, and I've mentioned this in some of my past videos, network sharding is definitely a way of scaling. Like anybody who didn't watch the proximity video or maybe forgets, a big thing that we were discussing in that video was just the as you condense the space further and further, network overhead will actually balloon. And so eventually it's going to reach a point where like there's not enough network bandwidth available to continue running the simulation. So network sharding is definitely a strategy for solving that, but I don't think they would shard the network in the way that you're talking about, JD, because if you shard, like if you're going to manually shard the network on like types of data, that's a really difficult thing to scale, because keep in mind that as you shard things, like each shard is eventually going to hit its own limit too. So if you're sharding on like these really custom rules around like, well, certain types of information is on this shard, certain types on this shard, that's still going to constrain how far you can scale horizontally by sharding things, right? If you're going to do network sharding like this, you really want it to be a repeatable thing that you're sharding on. So whether that's layers or whether that's who knows what the rules around it are, but you really want like a good example might be distance. Maybe objects at different distances are sharded. So delivery of information within 25 meters happens on one shard, and delivery of information within 25 to 50 meters happens on another shard. No, I'm just pulling this up, but like that's a shard identifier that is easy to scale. You can easily tune that number, right, and produce any number of shards that you need. Now, whether distance-based sharding would actually work, I don't know. I'm thinking off the cuff here, but that would be a possibility. So you're looking for, yeah, shard identifiers that are easily repeatable and constrainable like that, versus specific types of data where you need engineers involved then to make substantial improvements, right? Like if there's a new type of data, you need another engineer. Like, well, what shard does this go on? Blah blah blah. Or if you want to collapse your shards in that situation, it becomes much harder too. Whereas if you have an easily tunable number that can produce n number of shards, you can tune that in any way, increase shards, reduce shards, whatever. So anyway, good question, JD. Hope I made a little bit of sense there. You think the networking bandwidth throughput between servers within AWS Center will be the limitation? This is by Hippogrinch in response to the proximity problem. For all we know, these DGS servers could all be 4-core EC2 compute nodes VMs, all running on the same 192-core EPYC CPU. What's the bandwidth limitation there? The RL servers should also be co-located in the same data center. That's the whole reason I think CIG is sharding based on AWS region, because the performance of these services over the regular internet would be abysmal. Yeah, everything you're saying makes sense there, but yes, I am suggesting that the AWS data center bandwidth between compute nodes would eventually be the limitation. You can only co-locate so many DGS servers on the same EPYC, right? You throw enough players into the same situation, you're going to need more DGS servers than that EPYC CPU can handle. At that point, you're going on to the LAN between those EPYC CPUs, and eventually you're going to reach bandwidth limits. I know it's a lot of bandwidth, but that's how much state transfer we'd be talking about in that kind of situation. Good question, though, Hip. Also on the proximity problem. On Tomato's show, you mentioned something about layering to help with the issue. Could you elaborate on this more? I'm talking about just plain old World of Warcraft style layering, where you're standing in org or somewhere else, and a lot of other games do this too, and all of a sudden you see the people around you change, and it'll kind of just shift before your eyes. Like you did have 3 people standing before you, now you have 5 people because you got layer shifted. That's what I'm talking about. It's not what we want. We don't want that in Star Citizen because it's very immersion breaking, but it is an escape hatch they might have to use as a pressure valve in cases where we are really pushing the limits of their architecture and infrastructure. We'll see. Also on solving Star Citizen's proximity problem by a Real Deal 485, shard locked error 3009 for 8 days. Any help? I hope you got some by now. I can't help, but I hope you got help, because that sucked. Sorry, man. Why does anyone, this is on my 2025 predictions video, why does anyone expect base building before 2035? It took CIG 10 years. 10 years. Anybody see Gross Point Blank? I love that movie. 10 years, man. 10 years. It took CIG 10 years just to change the UI on the MFDs. Damn. I didn't realize they were working on MFDs for 10 years. But you're right. That's absurd. What the hell? Making progress or significant improvements doesn't mean much with CIG's track record. All right. That wasn't every question, of course, but it was a chunk of them. If people like this, if it gets enough thumbs or comments to that effect, maybe we'll do stuff like this again in the future. If it sucked, well, that's fine. Then we won't. It was worth trying once. Thank you so much for everyone who's jumped into the comments to ask questions like these. You all make it really fun to run this channel. You're the reason I've kept at it, seriously. So thank you. And keep those comments and questions coming. Speaking of questions, if y'all have anything else from that Marathon Star Citizen live react that we did, I still feel like there's a lot more to dig into on that, and I intend to. I haven't found a lot of explicit questions or suggestions on the video, so I'll probably dig into what's interesting to me, which is fine. That'll be cool. But feel free to chime in. That's all I got. See you all on Monday. Grolo out.